Hi, folks. I'm Father Joe Grimaldi. You can call me Joe, and I'd like to welcome you to my podcast. But now, here's our host and friend, Ken Calvert.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ken Calvert alongside the great Father Joe Grimaldi, and we would like to welcome you to the Father Joe Grimaldi podcast. My good friends, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer has signed an executive order that has reopened Star Lincoln's auto dealership. However, each customer is permitted into the showroom by appointment only. Star Lincoln is 100% compliant with every CDC guideline, and we sanitize our facility on a non-stop basis. Simply call 248-354-4900 and make an appointment to meet with one of Star's sales professionals, or shop Star Express by going to www.starlincoln.com. Check out the incredible lineup of Lincoln vehicles: the Navigator, the Corsair, the Nautilus, Aviator, MKZ, and the Continental. You can essentially lease or buy your next Lincoln totally online. Our Star Lincoln service is by appointment only and is open from 8 until 5. Our new Lincoln vehicle showroom is now open by appointment only from 9 until 5. Yes, your sanctuary awaits. Go to starlincoln.com. That's starlincoln.com. Well, where do I begin?
Well, you usually know how, and you do it well.
All right, then I'm going to start with this. In response to a Vatican note clarifying baptism formula, Father Matthew Hood realized he wasn't properly baptized, which meant he wasn't a priest. Oh boy, whole can of worms opened up here in the Archdiocese of Detroit, talking about Deacon Mark Springer, who apparently, oh boy, I guess words are important. This is where you take over, if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
Can I just say this?
Sure.
Apparently he said because there was a gathering of people, Father Hood went back and looked at the videotape from 1990. What prompted that, I don't know, but he did, and he noticed, wait a minute. The words were wrong. He said, "We baptize you," instead of "I baptize you." So words are important.
They can be.
Okay. This is where I get out of the way.
Well, particularly when you're dealing with the sacrament of baptism, which is, of all the sacraments, baptism is the one that opens the door for the other sacraments that the Church has. So without baptism, a person cannot be confirmed, ordained, married, and so on. And so it does open the door to all the other sacraments. Now, what happens is this, though. I think it was a little bit more common maybe 20 years ago. Priests were concentrating on being very pastoral, deacons the same way, and one of the niceties would be that as the gathering group that was looking over the baptismal font with the child being baptized, instead of saying, "I baptize you," he said, "We baptize you." Why the we? Well, as I say, trying to be pastoral, he said that. However, it has a very important meaning in the sacrament. First of all sacraments must have both the word and the form. So both have to be present for the validity of the sacrament in the Church. And so with baptism, it's Christ who is initiating the baptism. Christ is the one who is baptizing. And so Christ baptizes through the priest or the deacon. In order to convey that, obviously, he can't say we, he says, supposed to say, "I baptize you in the name of the Father and the Son," and so on. As I said before, you have this whole idea of being pastoral as very important. So maybe, and I really don't know, see, intent is important. Intent is important in the civil law as well as in the religious law. And so I'm sure that the deacon intended for the baptism to be valid. He intended that Christ would be the one baptizing, but he said it without realizing it. He said it incorrectly because he was trying to be more pastoral. Well, you look at all of the sacraments, all of them have form and word.
Mm-hmm.
And the two have to be there together for the validity of the sacrament.
I understand that completely. I feel bad for both parties here, Your Honor. I thought that social media ruled the here and now. That is to say, everyone with a phone, an iPhone, or whatever brand you carry, I mean, everybody has a shot of what occurred.
Yes.
And it normally turns out to be from 3 or 4 different angles. Now, going back to 1990, I'm going to assume it was one of those actual video cameras that, so many people had, as they would just, they would follow their children along through life. So naturally, the Hood family, Matthew Hood's family, in 1990, obviously aunt or an uncle or dad brought along his video camera. And gosh, let's pull it out and have a look. And they have a look and they hear the word, we as opposed to I. Father Hood, as a result of that, realizes, wait a second, I wasn't baptized correctly. I mean, he's really stretching the field with this, saying, I'm not a priest, which then lends to what we now are familiar with, contact tracing. Does that mean my baptisms are all invalid? My marriages all invalid? Without thinking too hard about it, Father Joe Grimaldi, that's opened an enormous can of worms.
Yes, it does. But let's keep in mind that God attaches himself to the rules and regulations. The rules and regulations do not determine who God is. So certain things are left to God. The other thing I want to mention is this, that the deacon did not want to go against whatever the church said and did make that mistake because he favored being much more pastoral about things, and this is why he said what he said. I believe. Now, I think, too, that there was a very, very strong reaction on that on the part of Father Hood. And one of the things comes to my mind. About 20 years ago, I'm wondering, and I don't know, I don't have the statistics, how many priests and deacons did use we instead of I.
Mm-hmm.
And there may be some who do that today. And so some hopefully not intentionally, but there may be some using the same thing today. Now, if they realize what the source of the rule is, maybe they would understand it more. The source is that it is Christ who does the baptism, but Christ works through the priest and through the deacon. And this is why the I is so important. Mm-hmm. Yes, he was right. He was not duly ordained, and he was not confirmed, and so on. And I believe that there was an article that explained what did happen when he did call the chancery and let them know that he was not baptized validly. So I think that very same day, or maybe the next day, he did go down to the chancery. They rebaptized him, or they baptized him, I should say. Certainly had him do confirmation, and then after a certain retreat, maybe a day or two, he was able to be ordained again. And so the thing is this, that was he himself. Mm-hmm. Now, you point out the fact that that also affects other people, the people that he himself performed the baptisms and the marriages and so on and so forth for. And so in that case, this is where the Archbishop is somewhat concerned. If it is something that is very well known, there is, I believe, a site on the internet to get the archdiocese, and you could address the archdiocese, mm-hmm. and so that they will recommend how to proceed. As I say, I doubt that many people even know what the priest or the deacon said at baptism, especially if they're on the older side, people who are of a certain age. they did not have the benefits of all of these videos and so on and so forth. They may have had some movies, the old-time movies that they would show without sound, but not the videos that we have today that give you a clear picture and sound of whatever happened. So what I'm getting at is that many, 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 many people in the world, if we were to examine it carefully, there would be more than one Mark Springer, I think. And so when people realize that that's what it is, I think they should follow through and do something about it. But otherwise, I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, I have no idea what the priest said when I was baptized. That goes back 80 years almost, and so I don't know.
I have no idea, obviously. Both my parents are gone, and I if my parents were alive today, they would say, oh, gosh, I just remember the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Maybe I sound too cavalier. I believe that as long as the heart, the intention, the entire routine of baptizing a child, one word, semantics, come on. Much ado about nothing? Maybe not.
Not in the heart of the church.
Okay, all right.
Only because legally and validly you have to have form and action, or action and form. So the form is the words that are used, and those words have to be there. So it cannot just be a nice little pouring of water and it doesn't matter what you say.
I'm going to go back to, I'm in an English class at Brother Ice with Father Joe Grimaldi, then Brother Joe Grimaldi. I raise my hand and I say, but wait, brother, we is inclusive. I am included in we. Why don't we go get some lunch? I'm included in that, right?
Yeah, and that's very nice. And I think that's what they were trying to get across, that we, in order to be pastoral, we want to be nice and inclusive. And since the crowd was there, whatever,
I, along with you,
with the small crowd,
we'll just say we.
Yeah, so he just decided to say we, not realizing the importance of using I.
Well, I feel bad for everyone in this one.
There's no question. And I'll tell you, not only that you feel bad, many people are angry with the church, angry with the whole situation, angry that the bishop should be following through on this. However, if we want to go according to what makes a sacrament valid and not, there are certain guidelines and rules that are used, and those have to be used.
So why did Father Hood, and I give him credit for everything he's done. Here's my question for you. He did it correctly. He did it by the rules, as did the Archbishop. Why would Father Hood have to go on retreat after that? Why does he have any added responsibility?
It's, you see, I think you're using the words responsibility in a different way. I can understand what you're saying, but it's not so much the responsibility, it's the awesome act of ordination. And so in order to really digest that, and it's not like a 10-day or 20-day retreat. It was a day retreat or something like that. And it really is to digest the importance of the ordination, and maybe to review the form and the actions of all the sacraments. You know, just take a day to be uninterrupted in solitude, to look at all of this seriously.
And pray for all the other priests and deacons out there that they maybe have learned something from this.
Yes, and I think, what we can do to help things out is every so often we might, and I think we do, well, not so often, but on occasion, we'll get reminders of what is contained in the sacrament of baptism and how is it bestowed on an individual, knowing that it comes from Christ and knowing that the priest or the deacon at that point is acting in the place of Christ. And therefore, that's why he says I instead of we. We sounds nice. I mean, he could have, a priest or a deacon might be able to say at the beginning of the ceremony, I am so glad that we're all here gathered today for this important situation, and now we'll start the baptism, and so separate the two.
Yeah.
You can still be pastoral without making we part of the sacrament. The sacrament is I. Because the people have nothing to do with it, just observers.
People change the melody all the time to the national anthem, but people don't change the words.
Okay.
All right, I'm just using that as an example.
Right.
You may sing it differently. You may play it on an acoustic guitar. You may play it on an electric guitar. Either way, you're reading the words correctly.
Yeah, and you imagine in the church it's much more deep and much more...
And that's, you took the words right
dogmatic,
out of my... took the words right out of my mouth.
But it should not disturb people about their own baptism.
All right, you brought that up very quickly. Who's angry? What element is angry about this?
Well, people that feel, number one, why are they making such a big deal out of this?
Okay, I get all right, I understand.
Why is the Archbishop now speaking about all of this? What is going on?
No.
And the poor guy, he's a young priest. He made a mistake, and he didn't make the mistake. The deacon made the mistake. And so he's suffering from it, and so on. So they're angry about all aspects. And I think part of it is this. I might go out on a limb on this.
Okay.
People are under a lot of stress and tension these days.
Oh, you think so, huh?
And
no
so
kidding,
it's only,
yeah.
To me, it's only natural that something like this would prompt people to become angry at the church, at other things, anything, just to...
distract them away from COVID.
Yeah.
And I heard a guy on the radio the other day, Joe, just go ballistic because he said, I remember once watching a television show where the guy said, my bad, and his partner turned to him and said, if I hear that expression one more time out of you, I'm going to knock your block off. And he said, I'm starting to feel the same way with people going, man, that's so 2020. And it really has become, we're 8 months into it. But once again, I totally agree with you. I'm on that limb with you. I think people are in their homes. They're overthinking things in so many different ways that anger has become a major part of people's lives. But it surprises me that interesting topic and well covered, my friend. Why don't we go on retreat for a minute and hear a little something from you in the form of a prayer? Would you mind?
No, I'd be happy to. And this comes from, again, anonymous. So
I love saying anonymous.
Very prolific. Okay.
Yeah, very good, yeah.
Most merciful and triune God, we come to you in our weakness. We come to you in our fear. We come to you with trust, for you alone are our hope. We place before you the disease present in our world. We turn to you in our time of need. Bring wisdom to doctors, give understanding to scientists, endow caregivers with compassion and generosity. Bring healing to those who are ill. Protect those who are most at risk. Give comfort to those who have lost a loved one. Welcome those who have died into your eternal home. Stabilize our communities. Unite us in our compassion. Remove all fear from our hearts, and fill us with confidence in your care. Jesus, I trust you. Jesus, I trust you. Jesus, I trust you. Amen. This is Father Joe Grimaldi, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the Father Joe Podcast.
If you'd like, you can email us. It's frjoepodcast@gmail.com. That's frjoepodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook. Simply search Father Joe Grimaldi. And thanks for listening, everyone.